to another episode of the IBC Guys. Mike, I feel like we need like some professional wrestling entrance music. When you're walking down, you're stomping down the ramp because you're back. And I'm glad you're back.
It's
So
good
maybe
to
we
be
need to come
back.
up with
It's
a,
been a
a
while.
wrestler nickname for you. That'd be a cool thing. People write in and come up with a wrestling nickname. You got a catchphrase
Uh,
like Randy the Macho Man Savage or something. So all that to say, I'm glad you're back. So if you are listening, and you can't see us. Mike is back. Been thankful to have Tim along for the ride. But we got the OGs back today. So I'm Dave. I'm one of the IBC guys. This is Mike. He's the other one. We got a cool episode today. Three letters, EVA. So I'm gonna let Mike explain what that is. And I'm gonna do a lot of listening today. So he was just teasing me. I said, this is gonna be a great one. I'm just gonna sit back and smile. He's like, yep, that'll be my job next week. So we'll see if we can come up with a topic where that's true, Mike.
yeah, we'll do one next week, and yeah, I'll sit back and listen to you do one. That'd be
You
awesome.
can be the eye candy, as you always are,
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
for the YouTubers.
Uh,
So, well, we exist for three reasons on the IBC Guys podcast here. One is to get IBC information out. We want you to have the knowledge and the understanding to make a decision. Whether you choose to do it for your family or not, makes us happy either way. We just want you to have the ability to make that choice. Two, we want to give actionable, implementable examples. So today it's more of a mental mindset. So we're going to talk through that mental mindset, and it applies to a broader scope of individual things. So we're excited to talk through that, but less actionable, more implementable today. And then lastly, we want to get the information out to as many people as we can. So if you would share, like, subscribe, do all the podcast things. Um, yeah, I'm finding out every day people are listening. I last week, Mike, got notification that people out in California were listening. I told Tim I didn't know this went that far. So it's really kind of cool that it's getting out there. So if you have been listening consistently, we're very thankful for you. If you got somebody in mind that may be interested, um, give them the podcast. If you don't want to give them this podcast because you're embarrassed to be associated with it, I don't know. Maybe we'd be happy to give you other podcasts. But last week too, Mike, Tim was saying he was sharing with people he was on the podcast, and a person that he has known for a long time said, "Hey, we need to talk." He's like, "Okay." He said, "We need to have a conversation about our friend in common, Nelson Nash." So Tim found out that this person had been doing IBC for a long, long time, never knew it. So they kind of made that connection. I thought that was really cool. So get it out there. We'd be happy to talk with whomever, whenever. And that's it. That's podcasty stuff. So I'm just smiling. I'm looking at your face. I'm glad you're back, Mike. Got your
it's
button
good to
up
be
shirt
back.
on.
It's been
Look,
it's
looking
been
handsome.
kind of taking the summer off here, hanging out with my boys. They're home for college. Two of them are home for college anyway, and had the other two. Had a week where I had all four. I have four boys, and had a week where all four of them were here. Did all kinds of fun stuff, hanging out. My oldest one is in Nashville, so it's rare that all four of them get together. So yeah, it's been a good summer. The boys, the youngest two, head back here in a couple of days, uh, back to college, start basketball. So
It's a long grind. So I don't know if listeners understand basketball a lot, but it's a long season. It's a long season. I was,
basketball is definitely the longer. I mean, aside from hockey, but I mean the winter sports. If you're looking at the big
yeah.
four, basketball and hockey, that man, it's they're starting right now, and they'll go to. I mean, the pros. I mean, the
Baseball.
finals are in June.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
NBA,
such a
sure.
long year.
Yeah, I only played high school and I remember how long it was. I mean, this is big time college ball and it's a lot of work. So,
But yeah,
but
they'll
I'm
start
excited.
now and they'll go to. I mean, up to March Madness for sure, and the football players. They're starting. About this time as well, and they're done by I mean,
December.
unless you're the University of Michigan and get to play in January,
We'll see this year. I don't
you're
know.
pretty much done by Thanksgiving or so. So it's a long grind for them.
Don't say that. You know what's on Thanksgiving weekend? What's Thanksgiving weekend for the University of Michigan?
What's Thanksgiving weekend for what?
The University of Michigan.
University of Michigan, Ohio State.
Yeah, so they're not done. They beat the tar out of Ohio State, and then they move on after beating the pants off of them. That's the mentality, Mike. So they're not
I'm
done
saying around
Thanksgiving.
for most. I mean, that's just for a few teams. I'm saying
Okay. Oh, okay. Wow.
most college football programs are done certainly way before Christmas.
Yeah,
Some
that's
plan
true.
on, a bowl game or whatever, but for the most part, you're done in the first week of January. Even the national
Basketball.
championship is what, January 8th or something? So, I mean, my point is the basketball season goes 2 or 3 months longer, even at the college level. It's a grind.
Well, my point was Michigan's going to be Ohio State. That's the only point I was trying to make. So, and I did want to say I'm excited because both your boys are playing basketball this year. So the Parm crew is excited to come out and have two guys to root for. So it'll be good. But I do this, Mike. I was telling Tim I'm infamous for getting us off track. We're not here to talk about Michigan football or any of that stuff. We're here to talk about EVA. So
EVA. Yes.
why don't you tell everybody what EVA is? That's a good place to start. What is it? Maybe a definition.
So EVA stands for economic value added. You had mentioned Nelson Nash earlier. Nelson Nash mentions it in his book. Goes into actually quite a lot of detail to explain about it in his book, Becoming Your Own Banker. So economic value added, or what I like to call more maybe the time value of money. And it's not a concept necessarily that you would think that everyone has a grasp on. For example, in 1993, September, I think, of 1993, Fortune magazine put out an article on EVA, economic value added, and cited a few companies in there that had been operating their businesses, their companies, Coca-Cola, AT&T, CSX Railroad. I mean, some big companies, right? That were operating their business and not taking into account EVA. And were struggling really until they finally kind of adopted it into their accounting. And then the companies and the stock thereafter just took off. So what is EVA? A good example of that is, let's look at it from a company standpoint where you're taking capital and you are using that capital to, build whatever products and services, whatever. Then you turn around and sell, say, for example, you're doing, you're building trucks and selling trucks like Ford Motor Company, let's say. So it takes money to pay all the employees, and you're building trucks, and then you turn around and you sell that as a profit. Mm-hmm. And that's how you make money. Well, if you're borrowing the money to buy all of the, materials and parts and labor and to build these trucks, then when you run your balance sheet, you run your P&L, you're taking into account the cost of that capital. Well, from the standpoint of Ford, Coca-Cola, whatever, that capital comes from the shareholders, and they weren't putting a price on that capital as to what that capital is actually worth. So, for example, I think a better way to explain this is using a truck example. So I'm going to make this real simple. Okay. Let's say we're in the hopefully make it real simple.
I'm smiling because we've missed your truck examples over the last 3 weeks.
I know. Always go back to the truck example. It's so easy. Everyone can relate to a vehicle. So we've talked many times on this podcast about buying a $50,000 truck. Okay. So let's say we don't have our company's not public. Let's say our company is to acquire one truck and then we're going to turn around and sell. Okay. And then we're going to put out a P&L on that. So we don't have any capital. We don't have any shareholders. So we then in turn go to the bank and say, we need to borrow $50,000 because we need to buy a truck. Right. And they say, okay, we're going to give you, we're going to let you use our capital, but there's a cost to that.
Sure.
We're going to charge you $5,000 interest. So we're going to charge you $55,000. Okay. We buy this truck and then we turn around and we sell this truck for $60,000. Our expenses is $55,000 because that's what it took us to buy that truck with the capital and interest. So our net profit is $5,000, right? $55,000 for the capital from the bank. We bought a truck. We turn around and we sell it for $60,000. We do a P&L and it's $5,000 profit, right? Super
Makes
easy.
sense. Yep.
Well, what these companies were doing, like Coca-Cola, AT&T, et cetera, is they weren't going to the bank for that capital. The shareholders were providing that capital. So they were taking that $55,000, or excuse me, that $50,000, the cost of the truck, and they were going out and buying the truck or making Coca-Cola syrup or whatever. And in this case, a truck. And then they're turning around and selling that truck for $60,000. And they're saying our profit is $10,000,
Sure.
which their profit isn't $10,000 because they failed to take into the account the time value of money of that stockholder's capital. Okay. A different way to say that is, and I think we've discussed this on this Zoom before, on this podcast, we're doing via Zoom. So let's say you and I have $1,000 and you want to go out and buy a cell phone. Yeah, cell phones are $1,000, right?
About $1,000, yeah.
Let's say it's $1,000. The new iPhone or whatever it is, it's $1,000. Well, you decide to go out and buy a cell phone for $1,000 this year, and I don't. I invest mine at whatever. I invested at 4%, and then so let's say next year I have $1,040 and you still have your cell phone. Well, then what really did that? So the time value of money would tell you that cell phone actually cost you $1,040 because you could have had $1,040 had you not bought it then.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, granted, you have a cell phone, but again, that's kind of the time value of money, is that money that you put into that cell phone had a potential to make money. All capital has the potential to make money.
Hey, can I stop and ask for clarification? You keep saying time value of money. That's synonymous with the economic value added. Are we in agreement with that?
Correct.
So we're using, for those of you listening or watching, we're using those acronyms interchangeably. So the EVA, the economic value added, is synonymous, or it means the same thing as the time value or time value of money. Yeah. So those three letters, each in their own respective groups, mean the same thing. So I wanted to make sure that was clear to anybody listening.
Yeah, well, I'm referring to it as the same thing. It's the time value of money, in that what these companies were not doing and what most people are not doing or thinking about in their daily life, and I'm going to tie this back into IBC, of course, is they're not taking into account the ability for that capital to make money had they not gone out and bought a truck or bought Coca-Cola syrup or bought a cell phone or what have you. Had that money, they put it somewhere else, it could have made, it could have made money on its own. All capital has the ability to make money. Okay, well, I mean, the banks are taking capital and they're lending it and they're making money, and Coca-Cola's putting it in whatever and it's making money. And if you just take that money and stuff it under your mattress and leave it sit there for a year, okay, it has the ability if
Yeah.
you put it in the right places.
Not
So,
having it do anything.
you know,
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why, like the Robert Kiyosaki's of the world say savers are losers, is because you have to be able to capture that EVA, that economic value added to that capital or that time value of money. And when these big corporations were just taking their capital, they would put a value or the ability to make money, hence interest, if they use that capital from the bank, but they weren't giving it a value when they take the capital when it was from the shareholders, even though you have to put a value on that.
Can I try and say that a different way? And I think Nelson does in his book. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he says every choice you make with your money costs you something. Every choice. So to your point, if you leave it under the bed, Mike, that choice is costing you any interest you could make in a CD, whether as minimal as that may be. That's a choice that you're making. If you put it in, you know, a stock or whatever, or if you choose to buy that cell phone, you're losing out on potential money that you can make later. So every choice you make with your capital is costing you something. Am I correct in remembering that? That Nelson
Yeah,
has
he
that in the
likes to
book?
use what Nelson always says, and he says in his book, you finance everything.
Okay,
You
yeah,
finance everything, even though you say, well, I'm paying cash, I'm not financing it. Again, you're not taking into account EVA or the time value of money. So for example, let's go back to this cell phone and say that we have to rectify or balance our P&Ls at the end of the year, you and me. Okay, you have $1,000, I have $1,000. They have to equal themselves by next year. They have to be the same. Well, if you take your $1,000 in January and you buy a cell phone and it's $1,000, and let's say they don't depreciate, okay, and I take my $1,000 and I invest it, and let's say it's at 4%. At the end of December of that same year, we sit down and we kind of rectify and balance the books here, and mine shows 1,040. Your $1,000 is in that cell phone. It's not making you money. I
yep,
mean, not that you're not using it in business and you could, make money with your phone. I'm
yeah,
not saying that, but you know what I mean. It didn't
yeah,
make you money. Or you put it in under your mattress. Well, you have to add $40 because your balance sheet has to equal mine. Well, when you look at it like that, like, oh wait, if I bought that cell phone for $1,000, I lost the ability or the opportunity to make an additional 40. So
yep,
therefore, I have to put in another 40. You're financing everything you buy. Everything that you take your capital, your money, and you exchange that money for that product or service, you're missing out on the opportunity to make money because all capital has the potential to make money.
yeah,
Okay. It's like the old saying that there are two ways to make money. Either you work for money, you trade time for money, or your money works for money. That's the only way to generate capital, generate money, generate wealth is one of those two things. Either you're working for money or your money's working for money. Every example that you can think of and give me, like, well, wait a minute, it's going to fall into one of those two buckets. So when we as Americans, as consumers, we're not really taught to take into account EVA when we are paying cash for things. We understand that if I go out and buy that truck and I don't have the $50,000, so I go to the bank and borrow it, and they amortize that over 5 years and it's at 4%. And I know that at the end of 5 years, that truck's going to cost me $55,000. I mean, we understand that. But what we don't understand and what we don't take into account, much like Coca-Cola, AT&T, CSX Railroad, these big companies, that if we pay $50,000 cash for that truck, we just lost $5,000 of opportunity that we could have made had we taken that money and put it somewhere else, had we invested or whatever. So to tie this into IBC, using this truck example and from a company standpoint, Okay, so again, we think of things as, oh, we pay cash. We're not taking into account the time value of money. Let's look at it like a company. Again, going back to buying a $50,000 truck and then selling it. Okay, so we don't have the money. We go to the bank, we borrow it, and they say, yep, we're going to amortize this over 5 years, and we're going to charge you $5,000 of interest. So your $50,000 truck is really going to cost you $55,000. And so we know that we can write off the interest in our little business model, and then we turn around and we sell that truck for 60. We profited $55,000 or 55,000.
Oh, that'd be
60
nice.
minus 55. We profited $5,000. Okay, right?
Yeah, I'm tracking with you.
Sorry. My mind is thinking faster than what I'm can speak here. So we have 55,000 of cost. We sold it for 60. We net $5,000 profit. Easy enough, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So again, going back to the stockholders, let's say if we take the stockholders' money and they give us $50,000 cash, we go out and pay cash for that truck, and then we sell the truck for $60,000. Well, the company really doesn't make $10,000 profit, because you still have to provide a return for those stockholders. Okay, again, that's without getting into the weeds there. I mean, let's say, so you paid the stockholders $5,000 and now the company made $5,000. Okay, made as in they're retaining that capital to hopefully go out and buy future trucks or whatever. Okay, but you at least control the capital, or the stockholders control the capital. Okay, you're not paying the bank that $5,000 interest. You're paying the shareholders. Okay, or maybe essentially yourself, if you financed it yourself. So now let's look at it from an IBC standpoint. We have the capital. We put in the $50,000. It's earning 4% guaranteed, uninterrupted inside the policy. After 5 years, that grows to 60, correct? Then we go and we take a loan at 4%, and that's going to cost us $55,000. Okay, so now we take that $55,000, we go out and buy. I'm jumping ahead 5 years here, but I mean, over time, that's going to cost us $55,000. Just like the first scenario, we buy the truck, it costs $55,000, we sell it for $60,000, that's $5,000 profit. Then we take that $5,000 and then we add it on to what we already have in our policy, which is that $50,000 that grew to $60,000. So we actually are $5,000 ahead by doing that. Correct?
Yeah, I think we need to say it again. But I followed you. I just wanted to make sure everybody else listening.
So the first example, we use the bank's money. Let's take the stockholders out of it, okay? Let's just say this is our business, which is how people need to look at their life, as a business.
Yeah, they're running their own little corporation.
So this is how we should look at it as a business. So let's look at the 3 scenarios. One, we're going to buy a truck and we're going to sell it for $60,000. That's the business model, okay? We don't have the money. We don't have the $50,000 for the truck. So we're going to go to the bank and borrow it. They're going to charge us $5,000 interest. So the truck's going to cost us $55,000. We're going to sell it for $60,000. We're going to make $5,000 using the bank's money. Okay. Option 1. Option 2 is we say we need to take control of the banking function and stop paying the bank that interest. We're going to raise the capital. Okay. So we have $50,000 cash.
Yep.
And then we take that $50,000 cash and we go out and we buy a truck and sell it for $60,000. And again, what Coca-Cola was doing before they took into account they needed to use EVA is they say, hey, that option is $10,000, right? Because we had the cash, we bought the truck for $50,000, we sold it for $60,000, we made $10,000. Twice as good as the first option, right?
Well, yeah, I have some thoughts, but yeah.
Okay, well, hang on. Now, here's the third option. Is, again, you're kind of doing both. Is you accumulate the capital, you have the $50,000, it's in your policy, You're going to leave it there. It's going to grow to 60,000 in 5 years. 50,000 at 4% a year. Over 5 years, it grows to 60. 60,000, 833. Okay. Then we're going to go to the insurance company, and we're going to use their money. We're not going to use ours. We're going to use theirs, because ours over 5 years can get us 60,000, whereas theirs it's only going to cost us 55,000. So their money is cheaper. So we're going to use their money, pay $55,000 for the truck, sell it to 60, or sell it at 60. We make $5,000 there. Plus, we've also made $10,000 worth of our money sitting over here, 60,000 in the policy plus a $5,000 profit. Okay.
Yep.
Right. So when you look at those three business plans, like we're going to sit down and we're going to buy a truck and sell it. What's the best way to do it? Option one, we're going to make $5,000. Option two, we're going to make $10,000. And option three, we're going to make $15,000. Plus, then let's just say we stop. Then that money that's sitting in our policy is going to continue to grow to 74,000 after 10 years, 90,000 after 15 years, 109,000 after 20. I mean, it just keeps compounding. That's the beauty of the infinite banking concept right there. Yeah. So the infinite banking concept is basically kind of driving home the point that you need to take into account economic value added on your capital. Everyone understands that if I use the bank's capital, it's going to cost me more money, $55,000 for that truck. But if I use my own, it's only going to cost me $50,000 because I saved up the cash. Like, why would I not just pay cash? You know, it's crazy to go out and borrow money from the insurance company or from the bank or from a financial institution or Ford Credit or whoever. But they're not taking into account economic value added. That's why Nelson stresses that in his book. That's why once Coca-Cola and these other companies kind of introduced that into their financial mindset, if you will, that their companies and their stock price just took off after that, because now they understood EVA.
I'm sure their choices were a little bit different with that context in mind. You know, how are we using our money as wise as we could? So let me jump back. Let's start with option one. Social media has his upsides and downsides, but what I often see on social media are ding dongs like you and I hopping on and saying, this is what you need to do with your money. Now, we understand we kind of live in that context, but example is people will say, borrow the money, leverage it, and then you can just you can systemize this and you repeat the process and you make a lot of money over time. So what I say to your point, Mike, if you borrow it, sure, it costs you $55,000, but the time it takes to borrow that money and then use it is much smaller than option two, where you have to save up the entirety of the capital and then go use it. So not to muddy the waters at all, but a thought that did pop in my head as you were talking is the time frame that it takes to do these as well. To borrow money from a bank who has the capital, that is a much shorter time frame to get you to where you want to go in purchasing something or using the money than to save it and then make that $10,000 in the second situation. It may have taken you, though, 10 years to save up all that capital where your money was not making any money along the way. And I think that speaks to your point. If you're just adding, $10 here, $15 here, it takes you a long time, and that money is just sitting under your mattress. The EVA, or the time value of money, is zero. You're not making anything as you work towards that end goal to then make $10,000. So I think time is an added component to this as well. But as you take that and then go to the third option, IBC, which, yes, we are saying this is what we believe to be the best way to use your money, it accomplishes both at the same time. Maybe that's what I want to make clear. It accomplishes not only the speed of money, but it accomplishes you keeping that money on the ledger and continuing to make money, even though, as you said it, you're leveraging the insurance company's money to go use what they loan you to do what you need to do. It accomplishes both at the same time. So all I'm trying to do is say the same thing you said in a different way, Mike. You know, being an educator, we were taught that's always a good thing if you can say the same thing different ways because it resonates differently with different people. So that's what my goal is. But as I was saying any of that, and we were joking before. Let me wrap it real quick. We're gonna have to do another episode of this, Mike. We were saying there's no way we're gonna get through this in one episode. So if you're listening, next week's will be on this same topic. We got about 10 minutes. As I was talking through that and maybe adding the idea of the amount of time it takes to accomplish option one versus option two, and then IBC is a combination of those. Did that add any thoughts or bring up any other ideas for you?
Yeah, because it does take time, and the time obviously is for accumulating wealth. I mean, you have to, bottom line, the most important thing you can do in your life, this is one of Nelson Nash's favorite quotes, is that the most important thing you can do in your financial life is take control of the banking function. Okay, take control of the banking function in your life, and the banking function is simply who has the money. Who has the money?
Yeah.
John Savage always said there's two types of people in the world. There are the people that save and then spend the rest, and there are people that spend and then save the rest. Or put another way, people that save and then spend what's left over, and then people that spend and save what's left over. And you look at America in general, and it'll tell you how good we are as Americans of doing that. Terrible. So the people that save money and accumulate wealth, again, there's only two ways. I mean, the money's working for you or you're working for the money. So you want to get ahead. And to finish up on John Savage here, he says that second group always works for the first group. The people that save and then spend what's left, that accumulate wealth, accumulate capital, that have their money working to make money, those people are in one class, and then all the other people are in the second class. They work for the other people. I mean, you're never going to get ahead. So number one in the infinite banking concept, like number one, you have to take control of the banking function. And to do that, you have to control the money. You have to have the money. If you're going to go out and buy a truck, you have to have the money. You can't just continue to use the bank's money. You have to start accumulating capital to take control of the banking function in your life. So that's first and foremost. People have to live below their means and save, I mean, at least a portion of their income. Start accumulating capital. Like you said, that takes time. You just can't do it overnight. It takes time. Start building up a family banking system. Start building up money in your policy. Start accumulating capital.
Start small. Doesn't have to be big. You start small. $100 a month. And you start get that thing rolling. 10 years, it's amazing what that looks like in 10 years. So
Right.
just throwing it in there. You'd start small. That's your face. That's all I have to say, Mike. I just wanted to add in. I don't want people to think they need the capital to go buy a truck to do one of these things. They can start at $50 a month. My favorite ones, and I think you would echo this, are the ones for young kids that are starting small. It doesn't take a lot to start saving, but to run it through this and to monetize the money you're going to spend anyway, that's what we're working towards. But yeah, you have to start accumulating that wealth. I just wanted to add it can be small increments at a time. That's all. So I feel bad. You were giving me the look like, shut up, Dave. I thought that was a good thing to add. Oh, okay.
No, it was. I think being out in the country here, I think I kind of lagged there for a minute.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought you were mad at me.
No.
Like, man, it's been a while. We were out of rhythm. It's been so
no,
long.
I had a lag there. So
okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I did think that was worth saying. Just to start small. It doesn't have to be anything grandiose. And again, those are our favorite ones to do. So you were talking about accumulating
it's
wealth.
It's a discipline. That the idea of building capital, whether it's under your mattress or in a savings account or in an IBC policy or whatever, that idea it's a discipline, it's a mindset, and you have to. It's like running. Like you're not going to go out and just run a marathon the first day. Like, man, I need to get out and start running. It's go out and run a half a mile, run a mile, build up to 2 or 3 miles. You're not going to be able to run a marathon just getting up off the couch off of day one. So the fact that you're going out and starting, you're just kind of getting into the habit or the discipline of accumulating wealth, building capital, and taking control of the banking function in your life.
Well, I want to add one thing and then we got to wrap it up because we're not running out of time. But again, if you're listening, there's going to be a part two. But I kind of want to personify that here. My banking function looks nothing like Mike Stevens' banking function. So I know we kind of both host this podcast, but if Mike's a 10, Dave's a 1 in terms of the size of the banking structure and how it's utilized and things like that. So I say that to try and encourage the listener or the watcher. Like you may be behind me. I mean, if you haven't started, you are because we have some policies, but everybody's in a different spot. But Mike and I, just again to own it, we're in very different spots. But I call Mike all the time and get advice. And that's what we hope to do for whomever is listening. Like that's the goal, is just to help people leverage this thing and utilize it. So to sum it up, if you like the idea of option three, of both, using capital that you have, but keeping the money on the ledger to then gain more money, have your money work for you. So you're not paying the bank and you're having your money work for you. I would be hard pressed to hear, and I have not heard of one, but hard pressed to hear of a different option that's better than the infinite banking concept, leveraging these things through a whole life policy. So give us a shout, give us a call if you want to talk through that. We'd be happy to do so. My email is dave@familybankingsolutions.com. Mike's is mike@familybankingsolutions.com. 507-205-2284. I don't think I did that at the beginning. Maybe no one noticed. But give us a shout. If you do text or call that number, either Mike or I will answer that. So you'll get to talk to one of us. But yeah, we're going to do this part two, kind of just finalize the thinking. I think it's a foreign concept. This is certainly one you've taught me, Mike. But as Nelson stated, you finance everything. So what are the best choices? As Jess and I, my wife and I, buy land. Is it better to do this with the capital that we have to actually go buy a piece of land, or is it better to pay off investors and get the capital that we owe to investors taken down? What is the time value of money or the EVA? So just concepts like that. And if you call in or email me, I'll probably just put you in touch with Mike. He's much better at this than I am. But again, yeah, it's a journey. We're figuring it out together, and we'd like to be part of that journey if you're listening and you'd let us do that. So Mike, we got 1 minute left. You got anything to say with 1 minute left?
I don't. EVA part two next week.
Coming next week. Michael, it's good to have you back. Thanks for jumping in and joining
Good to
me.
be back. Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. All right, we'll catch everybody on the next one.